Hey, what's up guys? Sloth King here. Today I'm going to be working on my 4th generation Toyota 4Runner. It is a 2008 V6 and we are going to be replacing the Serpentine belt on it. So this job is actually pretty easy to do. It'll take maybe about 15-20 minutes depending on if you have trouble getting the Serpentine belt off around the fan. You only need a few different things, so let's go over those items and then let's jump right into this. All right, so first things first, you are going to need a new belt. I'm using a Gates Micro V belt. You will need a breaker bar with a 14mm socket on it. And optionally, you will need a 5mm Allen key. This will just lock the tensioner in place. So that way, whenever we put the belt back on, we don't have to fight with the tensioner and holding the breaker bar. This will just lock it in place, and I'll show you that later. So that's all we need, and let's jump right into this. All right, so we don't need to jack up the vehicle for this. You can if you want, but whenever we pull out the belt, we will be working from up here a little bit, but it's mostly we're just gonna be working on the ground. So from underneath the vehicle, you will need your undercover off. I have mine off already, and we will see our pulleys here. So the pulley that we're looking for our tensioner is this one right here. This is going to be our 14mm one. So let me set up the camera in a spot so you can see. All right, hopefully this will be a decent spot for you guys. I will also put a light right here so you can hopefully see a little bit better. So with our breaker bar, we're just going to slide it up here. Get right on that 14mm. And then we're going to unload it by turning it counterclockwise. Just like so. And then the easiest way to get the belt off is to go over here to this power steering pulley and just wiggle it off. And once we have that off, just make sure it's all loose. All right, once we have the belt off the power steering pulley, we can go ahead and release the tension on here and let it just sit there, and then we can take our breaker bar off. And then now we can begin taking off the belt from the rest of the pulleys. So it doesn't matter exactly how you do this, as long as they all come off. Get the crank off right there. Around the water pump. All right, here we go. Once we get everything pretty much all the way off, all we need to do is take this off from the fan. This is where it can kind of get a little tricky, so let me turn the camera around to see if I can face it towards the blades. All right, so the camera is going to be a little bit shaky, but this is like the best angle that I can get. So in order to take this off, all we really need to do with the belt is, let's say on this side, just wrap the belt around one of the blades and just turn the fan around. Every time you turn the blade, put the belt behind it. Just like so. And then, once we go all the way around, we can just pull the belt off. Just like that. All right, so here is the belt. I'm not too sure the last time it got replaced, but it looks like it's been on there for quite a while. As you can see, all this wear on it. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there are some minor cracks starting to form on the belt. It's not major. This isn't the worst belt that I've seen. Just the outside looks pretty bad. And before we install the new one, let's go ahead and check out our pulleys. All right, so while we are under here, let's go ahead and make sure that our pulleys turn freely and they don't make noise. Oh, that one looks like it sounds like it's going bad. Oh yeah, that's not good. This pulley is gonna have to get replaced pretty soon. Let's go ahead and check the idler pulley. Yeah, that one's sounding pretty bad too. So this other pulley up here, let's turn this one. That one's quieter. Alternator sounds good. How's the AC? Does the AC wiggle? All right, that one's not making noise. And then let's pop up on top of the car. So looking down, the last pulley, idler pulley I should say, is this one right here. Okay, that one's pretty silent. And the power steering pulley. It's a small bit of play in it, but doesn't seem like it's anything major. All right, so from what we could tell, 2 of the pulleys are not looking so good, or not sounding so good, I should say. The top pulley, it is a little bit on the stiffer side to spin. It doesn't spin exactly like super freely, but you can still tell that it's getting old. All right, so since those pulleys aren't looking too good, I don't have any on hand, but I will go ahead and pick some up, and then we are going to replace those in the near future. So let's go ahead and reinstall our belt and get this thing back on the road. All right, so for the diagram of the belt, I'll go ahead and pop it on screen for you guys right here. Go ahead and pause that, check it over. But let's go ahead and slip this belt on to the fan, just how we took it off, but we're gonna do them in the reverse order. Put the belt on there, and then let's go ahead and lock our tensioner and reinstall the whole belt. And let's see if this angle will also show a little bit of an easier process throwing the belt on. I'm just curious if I can, you know, pop it on while I'm on the top of the car. Yep, this is actually working pretty well. All right, now let's go ahead and install the belt. All right, so on our tensioner, you will see a hole on the body, which is right here. That's where our Allen key is going to go in. So we're going to preload the tensioner, and then this little hole right here is going to move somewhere over on this side. That's where we slip our Allen key in there, and then we can take off the breaker bar, and then the pulley will stay, or the tensioner will stay exactly where it is. Preload it all the way over here, and then I will go ahead and slip the Allen key in. I know you can't see it on camera right now. And I will show you exactly what it looks like. All right, I got it in place. So there it is, just like that. Now we can go ahead and slip the whole belt around, and then once we get the belt in place, we can just add a little more tension to that and pop the Allen key out, and then the belt will be under perfect tension. All right, so since we have the Allen key on our tensioner and it's locked in place, we can go ahead and start routing our belt. So let's start putting the belt around our water pump first. All right, so since it's on top of the water pump now, we're going to take our belt and then route it underneath our idler pulley number 2, which leads to the alternator. So let me route that. Hopefully you guys can see it just fine. Bring the smooth part so it's resting on that pulley, as you can see right. Hopefully you can see it. Let me get it routed around the AC compressor so I can put the camera up here. All right, you see how it's routed right now? It's going up and over the water pump. Underneath that pulley over there leads around to the alternator, and then it wraps around to the AC compressor right here. And then we're going to take this part of the belt, put it underneath this idler pulley, start walking it underneath the crank. And then our belt right here, we're just going to rest it kind of like behind the power steering pump right here. Bring this up and around the crank the rest of the way. Wrap this part of the belt over our tensioner. Bring it on the bottom of the water pump. Let it glide on top of this pulley right here, right next to the power steering, and then we can pop it onto the power steering. And if we can't, we might just need to tug on that tensioner a little bit, release a little bit more tension, and then we can put around the rest of the power steering pulley. Just like so. All right. Let's make sure that the belt is on all the pulleys just fine. Yep, looks pretty good to me. Now, let's go ahead and release some of that tension. Pull out our Allen key. And then, voila, we are done. All right, it's kind of hard to show, but let me go ahead and try to get all of the belt routing on camera for you guys. The trickiest part that you guys will come into, once you wrap around this idler pulley, bring it around the alternator, around the AC, around this idler pulley, around the crank, so the crank will come up and it'll wrap around the tensioner pulley, and it'll come back and ride on the water pump, and this will loop up and around this idler pulley, which will go underneath the power steering. The belt will do a straight shot on top of the water pump, and then that's where the rest of the belt goes. And that's it, guys. All right, guys, and there you go. That's how you go ahead and replace your Serpentine belt on your 4Runner. It wasn't too bad to do. The only tricky part was whenever you're routing around the tensioner idler pulley, and then it goes right back and rides onto your water pump fan clutch over to your power steering pump. That was probably the trickiest part to try to like get routed, since we can't like see face on. We're kind of seeing down at an angle, so it wasn't that great of a shot to get. It was kind of tricky, but everything's on there. Belt is nice and new. And like I mentioned earlier, we did find that a couple of those pulleys are getting pretty bad. So we're gonna have to go ahead and replace those. I will replace those in a later video. I will go ahead and order the parts, have them in, and then we'll go back and just tackle it. So one way to check it before you guys replace your whole belt, you can just loosen up the tensioner, and then you can check your pulleys. So that way, you know, once you figure out if you need to replace your pulleys or not, you can just get it done in one shot instead of what I have to do. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and tackle those idler pulleys, in another video. And yeah, looking forward to doing that. Anyways, if this video helped you guys out, awesome, good. Make sure you keep up to date on that kind of maintenance for your Serpentine belt. We don't want those breaking. And anyways, like always, I'll catch you guys on the next ride.